السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Welcome to another episode of the Maradia Show, where we are meeting people where they are. I'm your host, Shadid Muhammad. So in today's discussion, inshallah, is a continuation of the discussion that we had last week about trust issues. So today, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to deal with 10 ways to get rid of trust issues. Sitting back and saying, I have trust issues, it does nothing to help your relationship. It does nothing to help your relationship. And for those of you who want to chime in on the discussion or would like a more private uh, conversation, you can join me on Zoom. The code for Zoom is 624-674-3330. That's 624-674-3330. So today, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to get into some ways in which we can deal with trust issues. Last week, we kind of laid out, the scaffolding of how trust issues start, where they start from, how they sabotage many of our relationships, some of the signs that you have trust issues. All right. And it wouldn't be complete if we did not offer some remedies, some ways to get rid of trust issues. All right. You have many people who say, I have trust issues, and just stay there. You can't say I have trust issues and then just stay there. You have to work towards getting rid of these trust issues. I mean, that's what a smart person would do, in my estimation. That's what a smart person would do. Nonetheless, it's totally up to you. If you want to continue walking around saying I have trust issues and then just leaving it there, sabotaging, every single relationship that you go into, um, not just an intimate relationship, but even friendships. As I said before, when people have trust issues, they automatically anticipate the person is going to fail them, or is going to wrong them, is going to betray them. They foresee they have a on these so-called trust issues. All right, in ways to deal with trust issues. Are you guys ready? All right, number one is recognizing where your trust issues come from, and stop misplacing your frustration. You are taking your frustration, your suspicions, your accusatory attitude. You are taking these things out, right? You are taking these things out on the wrong people. As I said before, your trust issues, 9 times out of 10, your trust issues stem from one or two people who betrayed you in your life. Because if more than one or two people betrayed you in your life, your trust issue should be with you, not with other people. You should stop trusting yourself. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. If your trust issues go back to more than two people, right, then that says a lot about you. Every single person that you or both of trust altogether. You don't know how to trust. You don't know the first thing about trusting people. You give your trust freely to everybody and you are betrayed by every single person. So that says a lot about you. So usually our trust issues go back to maybe one or two people in our lives that betrayed us, that disappointed us, that let us down, that crossed us, whatever term you want to use. And so what we do is, as I said, the mind has a way of generalizing negative experiences. The mind has a way of generalizing negative experiences. So when you had one, and not to make a distinction here, but You find Caucasians are like this with black people. They had one interaction with a black person, and then their mind, because of that negative experiences, that negative experience, it generalizes. Like all black people are like this. So a white woman got mugged, got robbed, all right, and it just so happened to be a black person. Well, she might have thought it was a black person. She was so distraught, she was so caught off guard and so distraught in her mind. The image of someone robbing her, she developed in her mind that it was a black person. So now, as she begins to move on in her life past that negative experience, every black man she comes across, she's clutching her pocketbook. She's afraid because the mind, when it has negative experiences, it generalizes the negative experiences. So now all black people are like that. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. So if you are in a relationship with someone and that person betrayed you, whether that person cheated on you, whether that person, whether physically or emotionally or whatever the case may be, and then once you get out of that experience, you think that every other person you go in a relationship with is going to do the same thing to you. Your mind generalizes negative experiences. It's a bias that you have. And you have to recognize where where your trust issues come from, where they stem from. Get to the root of it and stop generalizing, your frustrations with trust. You guys following me? Stop generalizing your frustrations with trust. Everybody that you come in contact with in your life did not hurt you. Everybody did not betray you. So stop, misplacing your frustration. You guys following me? And to give you some Islamic context to this, I mentioned before the hadith where the Prophet ﷺ mentioned about another prophet who was on a journey and he settled underneath a tree and he put his armor, he took his armor off and everything, and he settled underneath the tree, right? And as he's relaxing underneath the tree, an ant came by and bit him. So the prophet was so angry, so upset, he ordered for all of his things to be removed from underneath the tree. He ordered for the entire ant colony to be set on fire. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to that prophet, why didn't you just, extract retribution on the ant that bit you? You set on fire an entire ant colony that worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You destroyed an entire nation of creatures that worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just like you do because of one ant. Here again, misplaced frustration. You guys following me? Misplaced frustration. Stop taking your frustration out on people who are not at the root or not at the source of your trust issues. Get to the root of your trust issues and start there. Everybody you come in contact with is not going to betray you. Everybody you come in contact with is not out to get you, not out to betray you, not out to hurt you. All right, stop. More than that, if more than 2 or 3 people in your life have betrayed you, then you might need to take a deeper look at yourself. You might need to take a deeper look at yourself. Maybe it's not other people, you know what I mean? Maybe it's not other people that are treacherous, right? And that have a betrayal, demeanor. Maybe it's just you. Maybe it's your naivete. Maybe you're that naive that you continuously put yourself in situations to be betrayed. Maybe you are that naive that you don't see signs when they're staring you right in your face that this person should not be trusted. All right, so that's number 1. Recognize where your trust issues come from and stop misplacing your frustration. Number 2, avoid being suspicious of people. If you look for something long enough, you will find it. That is the compensation for being suspicious. The reward for being suspicious, having a suspicious nature, is that you are always going to find what you're looking for. You ever have a person, right, who is so full of themselves and they're constantly calling this person, I know this person is like this, I know this person's like, didn't I tell you? I was right, wasn't I? I was right, wasn't I? It's not that you were right. It's not that you were right. It just so happened to be that you are such a suspicious person that you always find what you're looking for. You're such a suspicious person, you always find what you're looking for. That is the reward of being suspicious. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran not to be suspicious. وَلَا تَجَسَّسُوا. Don't spy on one another. Don't be suspicious of one another. That's part of our tradition as Muslims. Stop being suspicious of people, because your suspicion, you are going to be compensated for your suspicion by finding exactly what you're looking for. And our tradition, in the Islamic tradition, we are taught to give people the benefit of the doubt. Give them time to hang themselves. Is that not how God deals with his creation? If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as Allah says in the Quran, there's actually a verse in the Quran where Allah says, Lo yu'akhidullahu nasa, that if Allah was to take every human being to account for what they did, ma taraka ala al-ardi min dabba, he would not have left one creature on the earth. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala extends the rope. You can hang yourself, or you can use the rope to pull yourself up to, gaining God's forgiveness, gaining God's pleasure, gaining Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's, mercy and compassion. Or you can take the rope and you can hang yourself with it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala extends it to you. He allows you to play yourself out. He doesn't hold you accountable right away. Give you an opportunity to see what you're going to do. And some of us self-delusionally think, well, I did it, nothing happened, I'm going to go back and do it again. Then there's those of us who are smart enough to understand, well, if God didn't immediately punish me for that, then perhaps he's extending rope for me to repent. You follow me? So give the benefit of the doubt. Some people don't like giving the benefit of the doubt because it goes against their suspicions. If you are suspicious of someone, it's hard to give the person the benefit of the doubt. If you have a suspicious nature, an accusatory nature, a suspicious nature, it's hard for you to give anybody the benefit of the doubt. That's not even a part of your demeanor. It's not even part of your persona to give someone the benefit of the doubt. You can't give someone the benefit of the doubt. You have no concept of the benefit of the doubt, because your suspicious nature conflicts with that. In order for you to give someone the benefit of the doubt, there has to be some degree of objectivity. You have to be objective in order to give the person the benefit of the doubt. You say, well, maybe it wasn't like that. I perceived it one way, but maybe, you start to challenge your perception. Because in this day and time, perception has become reality. Whatever you perceive is exactly what it is. It's impossible for your perception to be flawed, impossible for you to be wrong. Whatever you perceive is exactly what it is. And that's dangerous, but that's the time that we live in. Whatever you perceive is the reality of the situation. You can't imagine how many people in urban areas in the hood have been killed based on perception. You perceive the person was a snitch. You perceive the person was, betraying you or crossing you. You perceived it like that. And that became your reality. You can't imagine how many people are sitting in prison right now with life sentences. How many people are buried under the ground right now based upon a perception that was not even real. How many people are divorced right now because you perceived that he was cheating on you? Meanwhile, he wasn't cheating on you, but that was your perception. And your perception was your reality. God forbid your perception is wrong, which means that your entire you got to revamp, you got to relook at your entire reality. How many people are willing to do that? Very few. God forbid, your perception is flawed, which you built your entire reality on that perception. God forbid your perception is wrong, and you got to go back and you got to rethink the whole thing. We would much rather ride with the flawed perception than go back and check our reality, a reality check. We're not going to do it. Then years later, come to find out your perception was flawed. Like, oh, well, it is what it is. Right. Meanwhile, you just destroyed an entire relationship that had the potential, right? That had potential. You destroyed it on a perception. And then years later, when it comes to find out that it wasn't the way that you perceived it to be, then you say, well, it is what it is. Nah, it's not. It is what it is. Own that. Own it. Stop saying it is what it is. Own it. You were wrong. And you just forfeited and sabotaged an entire relationship based upon a perception that became your reality. And then when someone brings it to your attention and it's like, oh, well, it is what it is. Gotta be kidding me, man. I don't understand how some of you guys live the way that you live, honestly. And that's not to put myself above anyone else. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there was a time when I used to think like this as well. But at some point in your life, you gotta mature. Some of us have hit 40 or well into our 40s at this point, and you still think with the mentality of a 17, 18, 19, 20-year old. Meanwhile, you 45. Meanwhile, you pushing 50. You're half of 100. And you still have the mentality of an adolescent. It's ridiculous, man. And I mean, it all looks good on the outside with your hijab on, your niqab on, your skirt, however you want to dress it up, your beard, your grays in your beard. Meanwhile, the grays in your beard are not indicative of the wisdom that you're carrying with you. It's ridiculous, man. When do we mature? Like really mature with our emotions, really mature in developing a perception of life, a healthy perception of life. We have to do better, man. We have to do better, honestly. Um, avoid being suspicious. Number two, avoid being suspicious. Give the benefit of the doubt. That's part of our religion. That's in the Islamic tradition. We offer the benefit of the doubt until, right? Until the truth of the matter is staring us right in our face. Once it's staring you in your face, once a person shows you who they are, you have no other option but to believe them. Once a person shows you who you are, you have no other option but to believe them. So that's number two. Avoid being suspicious. Give the benefit of the doubt until, the reality of the situation is there. But if you are suspicious, that means that you never give anybody a chance. Nobody can get past your biases. No one can get past your biases because you are suspicious of everyone. Everybody has the potential to cross you. Everybody has the potential to betray you. And so therefore, you don't have a concept of giving people an opportunity, and that is indicative of your lack of self-confidence. Because confident people will give you room to hang yourself. You understand? Confident people will give you room to hang yourself. I don't have to be suspicious of you because I'm confident enough to know that if you violate one of my life principles and values, I'm going to cut you off completely. And I'm smart enough to know that I will only allow you in, but to a certain degree, so that even if you cross me, even if you betray me, it's not going to be so damaging to me. You understand? We have to leave room for that. You guys following me? All right. Number three, very important. For those of you who have trust issues, be transparent about your fears and your concerns to set your heart at ease. If there's something that is concerning you, something that is bothering you with your spouse, with a friend, how someone is moving, you understand? How someone is moving, then be transparent about that. Listen, I don't like the way you're moving. It's making me nervous. You understand? The way you move makes me nervous, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, be transparent with me about how you're moving. Because it makes me feel a certain type of way. You got to be transparent about your fears and your concerns. If your fear is that your spouse is going to leave you, your fear is that your spouse is going to work, going back to school because they're trying to get their thing together because she's going to leave you. As a man, if you are in fear that your woman is at some point going to leave you, then that is a conversation. That's a conversation. Don't let those fears and those concerns lay dormant inside you, and then you start moving based upon those fears and concerns. Address those concerns. Say, you know what? You know what bothers me about how you're moving? This XYZ. I'm concerned about how you move. It's making me uncomfortable. And give the other person an opportunity to explain to you, what their reality is and why they're moving the way that they're moving. Or they can, all right, you've just confirmed my suspicions. You know what I'm saying? You've just confirmed, some of my, apprehensions, not suspicions, but some of the apprehensions that I have. You just confirmed them with your BS response. I can see what it is now. As I said, when a person tells you who they are, believe them. Believe them. But be transparent about your fears and your concerns. Set your heart at ease. All right? Set your heart at ease. As Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam in the Islamic tradition, there's a verse in the Quran in Surah number 2, ayah 260, where Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, he asked Allah to show him how he gives life to the dead. God is almighty, all powerful, al-muhyi, al-mumit, the one who gives life, the one who gives death. All right, so Prophet Abraham, believing in Allah, however, he needs to have his heart at ease. So he says to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ رَبِّي أَرِنِي كَيْفَ تُحْيِي الْمَوْتَى. And remember when Prophet Abraham, right? Remember when Prophet Ibrahim said to his Lord, oh my Lord, show me how you give death, how you bring life back to the dead. And Allah says to Prophet Ibrahim, it's a conversation between Prophet Abraham and God. God says to Prophet Abraham, قَالَ أَوَلَمْ تُؤْمِنْ. Don't you believe in me? And Prophet Ibrahim retorted, قَالَ بَلَى وَلَكِنْ لِيَطْمَئِنَّ قَلْبِي. Yes, of course I believe in you. I just want my heart to be at ease. I just want my heart to be at ease. He wanted God to be more transparent with him so his heart could be at ease. Doesn't mean that he doesn't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Obviously, he believed in him. But sometimes we need to see it just so our hearts can be at rest. Just so our heart can be at ease. You understand? So, being transparent about your fears, being transparent about your concerns is very important. If you are having some trust issues, then you need to express that to your spouse. The way you're moving, the decisions that you're making, the moves that you're making, not including me, not involving me, not telling me about certain things, it's making me uncomfortable. It makes me uncomfortable. If it's with friends, you see, your friend shows up at a place, posts it on Instagram, didn't tell you about it, didn't say anything up to you about. Don't develop your own reasoning for why they did that. The only way that you can come up with a conclusion about why they did what they did is after you have a conversation. Like you came into my city, you posted something on Facebook, on Instagram, or whatever. You never even gave me a call. What's up? You understand? Don't come up with your own perception, your reality by way of how you perceive that. The person might have been on the run. Sometimes I show up at a place, I don't have time to call this person. I'm in and out. And it doesn't mean that I don't like you as a friend anymore or I don't rock with you anymore. That's not what that means. It meant that, I was in and out. And I, as a friend, I would hope that you would trust me enough to know that if I didn't call you or if I didn't invite you or whatever the case may be, perhaps there was some benefit in me doing that. There was some wisdom in me doing that. I had a gathering. I had something happened and I didn't invite you. And you might get in your feelings like, damn, why you ain't invite me? Like, I thought we rocked with each other. Why didn't you invite me? And I might have said, because my wife invited so-and-so, and I know you don't rock with so-and-so, and I didn't want to put you in that situation. So I just didn't invite you. I was actually looking out for you by not inviting you. And once you hear the person's why, you know what I mean? Once you hear the person's why, then you can develop your reality. Because now your perception is clear. There's clarity there. You understand? There's clarity there. But you cannot build a perception, based upon, information that's been omitted from the situation. All right. So be transparent about your fears. Be transparent about your concerns. When something, is making you uncomfortable, something is making you apprehensive, bring that discussion. Table that discussion. We need to have this a discussion because, it's making me uncomfortable. All right. Number 4, from ways to deal with your trust issues. I mean, am I making sense to you guys now? Like the first 3 that we've covered, like does that make sense? Does that resonate? All right. Number 4 in dealing with trust issues is avoid being accusatory. Avoid being accusatory and hear the person out first. Hear your spouse out completely without your biases, without, your hunches, without your biases, because that's what a hunch is. It's a bias. I had a hunch you was going to do this or do. Now that's a bias that you have. You got to put your biases down and you got to listen objectively. Don't lead with accusatory statements. That is the quickest way for someone to put their guard up. When a person feels like they're being attacked, when a person feels like they're being accused of something, especially if they didn't do it, immediately their guard goes up. And the entire conversation is about you accusing and the other person defending themselves. They're trying to ward you off. When you accuse someone, you're putting them in a corner. You're trying to make them agree to something that is a perception only in your mind. You are the only one that saw that situation like that. Or you only did that because of this. It's like, where'd you get that from? Or you only said that because of XYZ. And it's like, you connecting dots that's not even there. What are you talking about? And now this leads to an argument. The person shuts down. Very good. Got it. MashaAllah. The person shuts down. They put up a wall. It's a defense mechanism. No one likes to be accused. And this is especially true for people, listen to me closely, for people who were first children, first child syndrome. If you are the first child, you are the oldest sibling in your family hierarchy. You are the oldest sibling. You know what it feels like to be accused of something. You understand? Because the oldest child, why am I saying the oldest child? Because the oldest child is usually the one that the parents hold responsible for the younger children. So the parent immediately begins to accuse the oldest child of negligence. Well, I left you in charge. So how did you let this happen? It's like you now accusing the oldest child of being negligent. Meanwhile, the 3, 4, 5 year old that he's watching is wild. They're like a wild horse. You know what I mean? Like you can't tame them. You know that because that's your child. So how do you leave a 16-year-old kid, with a 5, 6-year-old kid and think that he's going to be able to maintain him or her? You understand? So if you're the oldest kid and you are in a relationship with someone who constantly makes accusatory statements towards you, you're constantly on guard against that person because you hate being accused of something. You hated it when your parents did it. You hate it when your parents did it to you. And now you're in a relationship with someone who seems to be the extension of your parents, accusing you, leading with accusatory statements. Don't accuse, ask. Ask questions. The Prophet ﷺ said, the cure for ignorance is a question. The cure for ignorance is the question. to simply ask the question. You know what I mean? Without accusing the person. And sometimes you got to lead with a disclaimer. Sometimes you got to say, I'm not accusing you. I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm simply asking you, right? To give the person an opportunity to let their guard down and have a conversation with you. But if you lead with accusatory statements, what does that mean? That means that you've already indicted the person. You've already indicted the person. The person is already guilty in your eyes. So why are we even having this conversation? If you lead with an accusatory statement, why are we even having this conversation? You obviously already indicted me. You've obviously already, accepted in your mind that I'm guilty. I know you called this person, or I know that you did this, and it's just like, wait a minute, how you don't know anything. You think you know. And that's not how you lead a conversation. Say, I want to give you an opportunity to just be honest with me. Did this happen? And give the person an opportunity to explain themselves. All right. Very important. So avoid being accusatory, and hear your spouse out completely. Give them a chance to explain to you their reason, right? A conviction before they even went to trial. You convicted the person already. Number 5, all right, halfway through. Number 5, build your self esteem by recognizing your own worth in the relationship. Sometimes people have trust issues in relationships because they have low self-esteem. It's not that the spouse did something that warranted you having trust issues with them. You have low self-esteem. So you take your trust issues out on your spouse because you do not take the time out to work on your own self. Building your own self-esteem, recognizing your own worth in the relationship. Sometimes, it's not that, your spouse is, triggering trust issues within you. You have to begin. If you have trust issues, you have to understand, if you have trust issues, even if it's legitimate, someone did something to you when you were a kid, somebody betrayed you, or whatever the case may be, you have to understand that you have to grow from that situation. You have to grow. Some of us sit and we wallow in our self-pity. Oh, woe is me, this person betrayed me. Oh, woe is me, this person did this to me or did that to me, and you stay right there. You don't work towards bringing yourself out of that situation, making yourself feel more confident, feeling more confident about yourself, that I can go back into another situation, you know what I mean? Because I've worked through my issues. I've learned how to work on myself and see my own worth. If someone took advantage of you, it does not mean that you are worthless. If someone does not see your worth, it does not mean that you are worthless. Just because someone betrayed you and they didn't see your value, they didn't see your worth, doesn't mean that you are worthless, because being betrayed can leave you feeling like that. Being betrayed could leave you feeling like, damn, the person didn't even see my worth or my value. They just came in, exploited me, took what they needed from me, and kept it moving. And could, you know, that could, that blow could take the breath out of you. It could shake your spirit. It could leave you feeling like I'm worthless. I don't matter. You know what I mean? Because the person took advantage of you. And then you go back into another relationship, not having worked on your own self esteem. And then you just automatically assume that the other person is going to see you like your previous spouse saw you, as no, as worthless, as no having no value, and that you automatically assume they're going to do to you what the last person did to you. You see how that cycle works. You understand? You see how that cycle works. You were taken advantage of by one person. That person didn't see your worth, didn't see your value, whatever the case may be. After that situation was over with, left you feeling like I'm worthless. I have no value. The person just completely took advantage of me. And then you go into another relationship not having worked on you, and you believe that this next person is going to do the same thing. They see you the same way. I'm valueless. I'm worthless. This person is going to do the same thing to me that the previous person did. And guess what happens? They end up doing the same thing, at least in your perception, because you haven't worked on you. You have to begin working on you. If you have trust issues, then you have to understand that the person that took advantage of you, just because they didn't see your worth, does not mean that you are not, that you are worthless. All right. As I mentioned before, the hadith of um, one of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, who the Prophet said, "Who will buy this slave?" And he said, "If you are referring to me, O Messenger of Allah, Zahir ibn Haram." Right? He said, "If you're referring to me, O Messenger of Allah, then I'm worthless. Nobody would buy me. I'm worthless." And he said that I am worthless because that's the way the people saw him. He's just regurgitating, he's just reiterating the way the world sees him. I'm worthless. And the Prophet ﷺ looked at him. He said, "Bal anta indallahi ghalin." He said, "No, to God, you are priceless. To God, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're priceless. Just because people don't see that you are worth anything, right? Just because people don't see that you are worth anything does not mean that you are worthless. To God, you are priceless. To Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're priceless." He said, "Bal anta indallahi ghalin." He said, "No, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are priceless." So just because people don't see your worth doesn't mean that you are worthless. You have to begin building your self-esteem. I'll give you an example. In the hadith, one time Aisha said to Sophia, she said, "You are the daughter of a Jew," meaning you're not an Arab. She's finding fault with her, her lineage and where she comes from, right? She says to Sophia, who was the Prophet ﷺ's wife, who was of Jewish heritage, and she said to Sophia, "You are the daughter of a Jewish man. You're not an Arab," basically. And it hurt Sophia's feelings. And Sophia started crying. And she went to the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet asked her, "Why are you crying? What's wrong?" And she said that, "Aisha, your wife called me a Jewish woman. She's said I'm not an Arab. So basically I'm somehow less than, everyone else because I'm Jewish." And the Prophet ﷺ took his thumbs and, he wiped the tears from her eyes. And he said to her, "Innaki la anti ibnata nabi." He said that you are the daughter of a prophet. Wa anti wabnata ammak an-nabi. And your uncle was a prophet. You are the daughter of a prophet. You are the daughter, you are the niece of a prophet. وَإِنَّكِ لَتَحْتَ النَّبِيِّ. And you are married to a prophet. فَفِيمَ تَفْتَخِرُ عَلَيْكَ. He said, and so what does anyone have that is equivalent to that they can brag about? Nothing. He changed her perception. Her perception became what Aisha said about her. You are nothing more than just a Jewish woman. You're not an Arab. You understand? Broke her down because Aisha, in a fit of jealousy, broke her down. That now became Sophia's reality. That's what happens to us. Someone says something to us, someone disrespects us, someone doesn't see our value or our worth, and that now we now begin to, they project that on us and we accept it. So now we start to walk around believing that we are worthless. We start to walk around believing that we have no value. And the Prophet ﷺ had to change her perception. He said, "Why are you crying?" She said, "Because your wife called me a Jewish woman." The father was, not her biological father, but she comes from a lineage of prophets. That's what the prophet was referring to. You are the daughter of a prophet, meaning Prophet Musa is the father of the Jews, right? And you are the niece of a prophet, meaning Prophet Harun, Musa and Harun. Meaning all of the prophets came from your lineage. What do Arabs have that they can brag about? None of the prophets and messengers came from Arab descent, other than Prophet Saleh and Prophet Hud. All of the other prophets came from Jewish descent. What do Arabs have? Like, she's, downing you because you're a Jewish woman when Jewish heritage, is saturated with, you know, prophets and messengers. So the prophet is trying to help her change her perception. You understand? Don't take that on. Aisha made that comment to you out of jealousy. Don't accept that. You come from a prestigious lineage, a chosen lineage that God chose to send all of his prophets and messengers through, your lineage. That's very honorable. It's nothing to be, ashamed of. The prophet is just helping her to see her reality a little differently. Don't take on what Aisha said. And we do that all the time. Sometimes somebody might say something to you on, like if I was to read to you, like I take screenshots of everything that people post about me. If I were to read to you, and I think one day I will, just to kind of let you see some of the horrible things that people say about you. Oh, he's a deviant. Oh, he's a stray. Oh, he's not even Muslim. Oh, he's this. I mean, like, horrible things. Like, you know what I mean? And if I was to take on everything that everyone said about me, there would be no way that I can convey to you the message with such enthusiasm, such vigor, such, passion. I would never be able to do that because I would let people define for me what my reality is. You know what I mean? You're entitled to whatever perception you have about me. Oh, he's arrogant. Oh, he's this, he's that. Like, you are entitled to that. I'm not going to take that away from you. You are entitled to believe about me whatever you want to believe. But guess what? Your perception about me is not my reality. It's your reality, not mine. I have to live with me. I know who I am and what I am. You understand? And I'm wise enough to know that when someone says something about me, I don't have to accept that. I don't care what it is. I don't have to accept that. That's your perception, not my reality. I don't have to accept that. And the way that you stay grounded in this field is that I don't live in your praises, so I don't die in your criticism. I don't your praises mean nothing to me. I don't care about your praises. I'm not in it for that. As long as I believe that I am right with God and what I am doing, I could care less what your praises are. Oh, brother, you inspire me. Oh, brother, you did this and you did that. Like that, I brushed that right off my shoulder. It means absolutely nothing to me. You understand? So much like Sophia, she accepted what Aisha said about her, and she didn't have to. Yes, sometimes things that people say to you are hurtful, but when you work on building your self-esteem, you can filter. Sometimes people say things about me, and I have to really go back and say to myself, am I really like that? There's some objectivity that I have. I don't just brush all of it off. Some of it I see that it's coming from a place, so I don't even consider it. But there's some things that people genuinely say about me that makes me go back and say, am I really like that? I really need to, I go consult with my wives, the women who know me the best. And this person said this. Do you actually see me to be like that? You know, and I really have to be, self-reflective. I can't brush it all off. Like, everybody that is criticizing me is not wrong. Somebody has to be right somewhere along the line. And, the only to be objective. You have to be objective enough to say, maybe I need to fix that. Maybe I need to correct that. You know what I mean? So build your self-esteem. And that's what the Prophet ﷺ did. He said that you are the daughter of a prophet, you are the niece of a prophet, and you are married to a prophet. What does anyone else have that is as honorable as that they can brag about? He built her back up. Meaning, what Aisha said about you is her perception, not your reality. You follow me? What Aisha said about you is her perception, not your reality. Your reality is that you are the daughter of a prophet, you are the niece of a prophet, and you are married to a prophet. Nobody else can say the same thing. None of the other women that I am married to has anything remotely close to that. Meaning, what Aisha said about you was her perception, not your reality. So If you have been betrayed, if you have been taken advantage of, then you need to learn to build your self esteem back up by recognizing your worth. If the person betrayed you, if the person, we say all the time, if the person left, then that's their loss or whatever the case may be. Do you really feel like that? That's a question. You really feel like that? Or is that loss was so, hurtful and so impactful? We say things to ourselves like, well, it's their loss. I know I'm a good man. I know I'm a good husband. I know I'm a good woman. We say those things, but do you really believe that? Because if you really believe that, then you will begin to work on, you start from there and begin building yourself back up after the betrayal. All right. Number 6, almost done. Establish your own individuality. Some people have trust issues because they live vicariously through their spouse. Stop living vicariously through your spouse. Establish your own individuality. Have your own money. And that is a big thing in the Islamic community because a lot of women marry men and don't have their own money. And so you depend on your husband for just about everything as it relates to the financial needs of your home, and vice versa. Some men, you depend on your wife to give you everything that you need. She lets you use her car. She lets you stay at her home. She lets you borrow money. There's some men that, like, like, you haven't even paid your woman her dowry. You still owe your wife her dowry, and you still got a tab with her because she's loaned you so much money. Like, you got to establish your own individuality. Stop living vicariously through your spouse. Some women don't have a social life. So every time the husband steps out of the home, she got to go with him because your husband now has become your social life. Your spouse cannot be your entire social life. You have to build a social life of your own. Stop saying I don't have friends or whatever the case. Then develop friends. I don't understand. You have to go and create a social life. This is sometimes what happens, especially when brothers come home from prison and they get married to a woman and they're living in this woman's house. They live in the suburbs or they live somewhere far away from this inner city where he's used to being. And he's like, I don't have no friends out here. Well, that's not my fault. Go to the masjid. If you pray 5 times a day in the masjid, I'm sure you're going to run into brothers in the masjid that you could go to lunch with, that you know what I mean? Like, they ain't got to be your best friends. They don't have to come from the same walk of life that you come from just to be your friend. But you have to develop a social life. Every time your wife steps out the house, whether she going to run into Walmart, you know what I mean? Whether you run into Target or something, he got to be shotgun in the car. I'm riding with you. It's just like, damn, man. Like, dude, go get your own social life. Go behind. You know what I'm saying? It's like you crowding me, man. Like you smothering me, man. Go create your own social life, man. Stop living vicariously through your spouse. Establish your own individuality. Socially, financially, you know what I mean? Establish your own individuality. Stop allowing who you are to be dependent upon who your spouse is. You understand? Emotionally, financially, socially, establish your own individuality. All right. Number 7, um, learn how to trust yourself. Learn how to trust yourself. Part of having trust issues is that you don't trust yourself anymore. You were betrayed, you were crossed, and as a result of that, you blame the entire situation on you. So therefore, you don't trust yourself anymore. And you put your affairs in the hands of somebody else because you don't trust yourself anymore. Because anybody can be crossed. Anybody can be crossed. Anybody can be betrayed. Anyone. No one is above that. And it doesn't mean that you are not smart, that you didn't see the signs or whatever. Some people are really good at being treacherous. That's just a fact. Some people are really good at being treacherous. That's just the fact of the matter. is that they're great at it. They've been doing it all of their lives. They've been exploiting people their entire lives. Some people are just great at it. It's not that I'm so stupid. How could I not have seen this? How did I let this person get this off on me? And the fact of the matter is that some people are just great at being treacherous. That's just a fact. But you cannot allow someone betraying you to steal your ability to trust yourself and to trust your own decisions. Learn how to build trust with yourself again. Because someone betrayed you, because someone crossed you, does not mean that you shouldn't have enough confidence in yourself to trust your own decisions anymore. Number 8, see your trust issues as self-sabotaging and not self-protective. Some of us think that by having trust issues, we are self-preserving. We are protecting ourselves. Stop seeing trust issues as a protection and see it as a self-sabotaging mechanism that will not allow you to, go beyond where you are right now in your life. Start seeing self-sabotaging and not self-preserving. You are not protecting yourself. You are destroying. You are intentionally destroying. Subconsciously, you are destroying potentially good relationships with people that, could possibly, have great meaning in your life. You're destroying them. The reason why we sit with our trust issues, we say, oh, I have trust issues. And the reason why we sit with that is because we believe that by having trust issues, we are somehow protecting ourselves. It's a protection. Stop seeing your trust issues as a protection and start seeing it as, self-sabotaging, self-destructive. Because that's what you're doing. When you go into a relationship with someone and you have trust issues, you are going to sabotage that relationship. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. You go into any relationship, whether it is a business relationship, whether it's a friendship, whether it is an intimate relationship, you are going to sabotage that relationship with your trust issues. Trust issues don't build, healthy, happy, thriving relationships. Please show me a healthy, happy, thriving relationship, and I'll show you 2 people who do not have trust issues. But we have to stop believing that our trust issues is somehow a protection for us. You know what is a protection for you? Is learning how to be confident. So see your trust issues as self-sabotaging, not as self-preserving. You are not preserving yourself. You are not protecting yourself by having trust issues. You are self-destructive, self-sabotaging to every relationship you go into because you're going to be suspicious. You're going to already, your perception of the person is going to become your reality of the person. All of the things, you're not going to give the person the benefit of the doubt. You're always going to be accusatory. And those are elements. All of those elements are toxic. You become the toxic individual in every relationship you go into. You are toxic because of your trust issues. Number 9, almost done. Learn how to have a healthy relationship with trust. Stop trusting everybody. Make people earn your trust. Make people earn your trust. You go into the sit down. Let me tell you what we do in the Islamic community. So in the Islamic community, we go into the sit down, right? And the sister comes in. She has on jilbab. She has on an overgarment, all black, blah, blah, blah. She got the part. You got the part. All right. So if we were looking for a prop, we were looking for someone to play this role, she got the role. You got the part. She shows up at the sit down, jilbab on, knowing that she doesn't wear overgarment on a regular basis. Hijab on, whatever, you got the part. She comes in And as men, we automatically assume when she walks through the door that she dresses like that all the time. She begins talking, inshallah, mashallah. She uses all the right slogans, all the right phrases, and we automatically assume, mashallah, I got me a gym. I got me a diamond in the rough. You know what I mean? You're putting too much trust in the external perception. You're putting too much trust in that. You got to leave a little room that, we embellish. We embellish ourselves. We all do it. We embellish ourselves a little bit more than, the reality of our situations. And you got to leave room for that. Brother comes in to the sit down. He got on the thobe, knowing he doesn't wear thobe every day. His beard, he put henna in his beard the night before, right? Put henna in his beard the night before, right? He comes in, mashallah, inshallah, right? And it's a facade. Some of it might be a little real, but it's embellished, to say the least. And the woman is like, alhamdulillah, I got a good brother. He's not married. He only has one kid from a previous relationship. I ain't got to go into polygyny. He ain't got no second wife nowhere. MashaAllah. The imam gave him the stamp of approval. Alhamdulillah, I got a good brother. Right? You put too much trust in that, man. You put entirely too much trust in a perception. You understand? So learn how to have a healthy relationship with trust. Make people earn your trust. That doesn't mean that you don't give anything. You'll give a little bit. I'll give you a little bit. But I'm also going to make you earn my trust. That does not prove to me that you are fit for marriage. Even if that is who you are, that might not be for all black, jilbab, her hijab, she's saying all of the right words, all of the right phrases. That might be great, but may not necessarily be great for me. You understand? Stop putting so much trust into a perception. You guys on Instagram Live, all right, and it's going to cut off with me. Instagram Live only gives you an hour, 60 minutes. We're 1 minute away from 60 minutes. Make people earn your trust. So, how do people earn your trust? How does someone earn your trust? Only you know that. I can say from I'm one of those people, I let you hang yourself. I give it to you. I give you a little wiggle room, and then I watch. And one of the ways that you can let a person earn your trust is by seeing that their statements and their behaviors line up. If a person says one thing but does something totally different, it's not lining up. There's no way that you can trust a person like that. If the person says, I'm always with my kids and, I take care of my kids or whatever the case may be, and then, you do a little research or whatever the case may be, and you find out the dude is, thousands of dollars in arrears, he's, not taking care, hardly ever comes get his kids or whatever, then, your statements and your actions are not lining up. I can't trust somebody like that. You understand? And part of the way that you figure that out is you got to let a person talk. I tell you guys this all the time. During the sit down, you should do less talking and make the other person talk. The more a person talks, the more they'll tell you everything you need to know. Hold on 1 second on Periscope. Let me do this again. Right? So the objective during the sit down process is to make the person talk as much as you can. Not that you're interrogating them, but you want to keep them talking, because if a person talks long enough, they'll tell you everything that you need to know. All right. But some of us like talking so much, so we go into the sit down and we're doing all the talking. All right. But you have to learn how to have a healthy relationship with trust. Stop trusting everybody. Make people earn your trust. All right. You have some man has children of his own that you can just introduce him to your children and your children are fine, they're safe. No, your children are sacred. Look at a lioness and around her cubs, around her, her young. They don't just allow a lion to just come, any random lion to come around their children. No. You have to guard them. You have to protect them. And just because a man has children, hell, he might have molested his own children. How many men do we know that have done that? Have molested their own children. And you thinking to yourself, oh, he has children. He has a daughter too. So I can let him around my daughter. No, that's not a given. That's something that is earned. You got to see him in, his element with his children. See how he interacts with them to make sure that his interaction with his children puts your heart at ease. He has to earn that trust. He has to earn that. It's not a given. Same thing with brothers who have children. Just because she's a woman and she has children, she might be abusive to her own children. You just automatically assume because I marry a woman that has children that, mashallah, my children are going to be okay. And then, you marry someone and because she has children, she might be abusive to her own children. It doesn't mean because you marry a woman who has children from a pre-existing relationship that she's automatically going to love your children like she loves her own children. It's very important. Last thing, and that number 10 for dealing with your trust issues is to learn how to take risks. If you are going to trust again, then you have to learn how to take healthy risks. People are going to hurt you. We have trust issues because the betrayal that we experienced previously was so hurtful, so painful. And we say, I don't ever want to go through that again. So I'm not trusting anybody anymore. I don't trust nobody. You hear people that say, I trust nobody. Because you got crossed, because you got, like, how are you ever going to have a healthy relationship with someone? I mean, like, for a person to say, I don't trust anybody, right? Let me show you how much that is a lie, that is a farce. For all of you guys, how many of you guys raise your hand right now that said, I don't trust nobody? Let me prove to you you're a liar. You have some people say, I don't trust nobody. I don't trust nobody. It's hard for me to trust people, right? And then you go to a restaurant and you put an order in, and the guy takes your order, goes in the back, and brings you a plate. That's trust. Anytime somebody hands you some food that was cooked in a place that you could not see, that's trust. You know what I mean? Nah, you. In order for you to have a healthy relationship, there has to be some level of trust. Trust is on different levels, obviously. And people who had healthy upbringings, healthy relationships with trust throughout their lives, they don't mind trusting people and in giving people an opportunity to hang. What I'm going to do if you cross me. I already know. And I cross me to the point where you will hurt me. You understand? I give you a little room to play with. And then I see how you're going to fare with that. For example, somebody might say, "Hey, can I get your number?" And I don't usually give out my number. But there are circumstances and situations and people who I feel a little comfortable with, and I give them the number. And I always say, and everybody knows, when I give you my number, this number is for you. You ask me for my number. Do not give my number to someone else. You said, Shadi, can I get your number? And I gave my number to you. I did not give my number to the dude that you're going to go give my number to. I did not give my number to the sister you're going to go give my number to, because brothers have done that. Oh, I got his number right here. You can just, I get a text message like, who the heck is this? What? Where'd you get my number from? Oh, such and such gave me your number. And it's like, oh, word? Oh, okay, cool. So now you and him are blocked from my phone number. You understand? Both of y'all blocked. Number one, you, because you had no right texting me. Number two, I gave my number to him. I didn't give him permission to give my number to nobody. That's the ultimate violation, man. That's an ultimate violation, man. But I gave him a little room. I gave him a little wiggle room. I gave him my number. I wanted to see how you was going to handle that. But I'm confident enough to know that when you misuse the little bit of trust that I gave you, I already know what I'm going to do with it. I already know how I'm going to handle it. That's confidence. I didn't have a healthy relationship with trust growing up. It's just that I am confident enough to know within myself that when you violate me, when you violate the little bit of trust that I gave you, I already know how I'm going to handle you. You understand? And some people don't trust at all because they don't trust themselves. Here again, that confidence. You have to know how you are going to handle the person if they violate you. And you have to give a person just enough room that even if they do mess up that little bit of trust that you gave them, it's not enough to hurt you. It's not going to put you, in a place where you got to work yourself out of this hole, this emotional hole that the person. These are, these are emotional pitfalls. You know what I mean? Like, because if a person, betrays you in a marriage, yes, how do you deal with this in a marriage? A person betrays you in a marriage, that's an emotional pitfall. You know what I mean? And you got to work yourself out of that. But you have to understand, going into a relationship, before you go into the relationship with the person, you got to vet them. You got to vet them, because you realize that love is the ultimate vulnerability. Love is the ultimate vulnerability. That in order for you to be in love with someone, you got to let your guard down completely, which requires some level of trust. So before you decide to put yourself in that situation, I think it would be wise of the person to vet the person, carefully before you put yourself in that situation. Especially if you've been crossed before, especially if you've been, betrayed before. It would be even more, behooving to you that, you take your precautions, that you're smart, and you don't put yourself in situations where you're going to regret it later on. You understand? The believer doesn't get stung in the same hole twice, as Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. That, the first sting, when you got stung in the first hole, when you got stung the first time, the sting was the lesson. Don't put yourself in that situation again. The Prophet ﷺ's words was just so wise. He said, "La yuldahu mu'min fi juhrin marratain." The believer doesn't get stung in the same hole twice. When you get stung in that hole, that pain, that's the lesson. Don't stick your hand in there again. So you learn from your mistakes, but you have to learn to take risks. If you're going to be in any relationship that requires some level of trust, and I can give you a ton of situations in which there is trust. When you go to a restaurant, something as simple as placing an order and then having a waiter come back and bring you your plate, and you take a fork and a knife, and that whole situation, that whole experience, the whole restaurant experience is a matter of trust. You don't know who cooked your food. The waiter who's bringing you your food, you don't know if they did something to your food. The forks and spoons that you're eating with, the cup that you're drinking out of, you don't know where any of that stuff has been. Somebody could say, I use plastic or whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're still eating food that was cooked in a place that you could not see the person as they were cooking the food. You don't know what they did to the food. So there is trust. There is a level of trust. So, we have to get out of this mindset. I don't trust anybody. I don't trust anybody. And it's just like, nah, you don't trust yourself. Because if you trusted yourself, you wouldn't mind extending a little bit of trust to people in order for you to have healthy relationships with them. And no one is above being crossed. No one is above being betrayed. So this is what I wanted to present. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. I hope that, some of what I shared was beneficial. I got just a couple of minutes, for questions and answers. Periscope, I'm going to turn you off and turn you back on, inshallah ta'ala. وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.